Welcome to another edition of Finn Capital's Go-to-Market interview series, where we speak to a number of subject matter experts on specific go-to-market topics. Today, delighted to have Matt Wolf, Senior Vice President of Business Development at Greenlight, a company where we've been investors since the Series C in 2020. The company went on to raise a substantial Series D in 2021, led by Andreessen Horowitz, where Finn also participated. Key topics for today's discussion is expanding from B2C to B2B go-to-market strategy, the challenges, considerations, opportunities, advice that Matt can share with us. As a quick aside, Matt, I have a handful of kids in my family who are Greenlight users, so I was particularly interested in having this discussion today. Definitely appreciate the value of the platform, its positioning, the new modules going forward, et cetera. As my kids continue to grow with this product, I too want to raise financially smart kids, and obviously Greenlight is helping me do that. So welcome, Matt. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Ren. That's awesome to hear that your kids are involved in it.
Absolutely. No, it's very cool. And Greenlight's become a verb, so that's a good thing, is you continue to build the business. Greenlight me this, greenlight me that. Like, okay, got it. So my kids certainly appreciate what you all are doing. So as we jump in here, first off, just tell us about your background. What is Greenlight? What led you to Greenlight, and what your roles, responsibilities, and what your focus is there today?
I'll start just with kind of the what is Greenlight, and then I can share a little bit about my background. As you were alluding to, we're a family finance company that offers a family digital wallet, debit card for kids, and recently we've developed a gamified financial education experience that provides parents and caregivers convenience, peace of mind with sharing money with their children, while also teaching kids smart financial habits that can really benefit them now and for the rest of their lives. My background, I had really spent the majority of my career in consumer businesses. I like to joke, like many people you see in fintech, I am a recovering banker, having been at Citi for a few years before deciding that I wanted to go back into startups. I've been an entrepreneur in various forms. Probably since high school, and for nearly the past decade. I've been really focused on developing what I call kind of seed stage startups, early stage startups within high growth startups and high growth companies that really usually aim to create new ways for families to access that startup services. In my last startup, which was Simply Safe, it's a leader in the smart home IoT SaaS space. I founded commercial partnerships practice there, really to help them on their mission of making every home secure. And in that experience, it was all about taking a company that was a heavy direct response advertiser, advertising a kind of do-it-yourself home security product and service directly to families, and introducing very efficient, low-cost growth commercial partnerships, and happen to be in very heavily regulated spaces like insurance. That had gone quite well, and I had the good fortune that in 2022, Greenlight's founders, right after, or I should say, I met them in 2021, right after that Series D you mentioned that Andreessen led and that FinCap was involved. They were looking to do the same kind of expansion that I had done at Simply Safe, and so I jumped at the opportunity to join Greenlight, really on our mission, which is to help parents and caregivers raise financially smart kids, like you alluded to. To set the stage at Greenlight, we'd had a really successful direct to consumer business where we made subscriptions available starting at $4.99 to families. They could find us, register on our website. We did a lot of Facebook and CPC, advertising, a lot of TV. We even in the start of 2022 had a Super Bowl commercial. I remember that. Yep. Yeah, exactly. But we always knew that the product really lent itself well to certain very attractive segments of a commercial market. We could, serve a population that was very valuable to financial institutions, to employers, and to a number of other types of partnerships that were, potential partners that were in very attractive, highly scalable verticals. And so we've set out over the last 3 years or so, trying to really identify where there's a need for our services and, where we can kind of create that unique win-win-win, where it's for the end user, the family, for our commercial partners that are typically banks or credit unions, our enterprise employers who want to promote financial wellness, and then Greenlight as well. So that's really been a focus as we've grown the team here.
That's great. No, thank you. Appreciate that background and clear your focus and build the business. Now, in terms of jumping into the go-to-market strategy and the motion there, and you've touched upon it a little bit. Started out as B2C. And Facebook ads and customer acquisition through online channels, very different motion than the B2B. And you've launched that successfully, and some new relationships that you've announced we'll get into. Just how do you effectively run two separate businesses that have those very different motions?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we were fortunate. We built up the really robust B2C go-to-motion first. And alongside that, and those probably $100+ million we spent on building the brand, naturally really lends itself very well towards creating awareness of for our B2B solution. We were just a sponsor at the Financial Brand Forum in Vegas last month, and most of the people that come to us say, "Hey, I come to you as a user. Like, hey, what is Greenlight here at a conference for banks and credit unions? And we're just thinking of you as a solution of how we get our kids money." So we've been very lucky from a go-to-market perspective that we really ride the rails of what we're doing in B2C, and being able to really take advantage of that for our B2B services and our B2B go-to-market motion. I think as we think through, you're right, they're very different motions, and it's kind of new muscles that you have to teach yourself. But for us, it really all started with, we knew we had value for the end user. We looked at who else could benefit from servicing that market, or who else had an overlapping population and who were serving those same customers. And looked at it, like I said earlier, a lot of it is banks, and big banks, small banks, regional community banks, credit unions that were serving that same population. And we kind of looked, hey, does what we are offering at Greenlight, can it help really fill a gap and help solve a need that those potential partners have? And will they find value in it? And is that value strong enough that they'll actually prioritize wanting to work with us? But also, is it not such a big problem and such an easy problem to solve that they would just build it themselves, right? And so it's really almost very much threading a needle. But to answer your original question, as we've built up a direct sales force and kind of a quota-carrying SaaS sales team and sales enablement and B2B demand gen, it's been hugely valuable to have that D2C business to kind of ride the rails of.
Yeah, and I want to touch upon that point maybe a little bit later on the sales side and product side, and how that's fit into the B2B strategy and how that's evolved. I mean, I guess what struck me is you were describing the banks and credit unions. Obviously, a recent announcement, big announcement that got a lot of attention with U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank obviously is a close relationship of ours on the LP side, and I think we were helpful in supporting that relationship, and we certainly applaud what you've done there. JP Morgan being another important bank relationship you have, and certainly applaud that one as well. But as you target more banks or credit unions, as you described, I mean, just leveraging the U.S. Bank experience, tell us a little bit more about that in terms of the genesis of the relationship, and obviously we're excited to see this get off the ground, but operationalizing it and the implementation and the continuous improvement that you see as you scale up, and from a product and customer perspective, delivering a great customer experience for your B2B partner. And then how do you measure success? What does that look like as you continue to evolve with U.S. Bank?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just a quick, and you touched on a couple of important points, but just a couple of points around kind of how this all evolved. We had always thought our product, like I said earlier, lent itself very well to B2B distribution. I like to equate, now this is my kind of second multi-billion-dollar startup that's expanded from D2C to B2B. I like to equate when you're doing that transition or expansion, almost equate it to going to a gym. And just like most of us who would go to the gym for the first time, you wouldn't necessarily walk up to a squat rack, put 800 pounds on the squat rack and try to squat the first time, right? You'd want to ease your way into it. That can be a great way to evolve and build those B2B muscles that are different to how you serve a customer in B2C. Our founders took a radically different approach, whereas they found the largest possible partner, maybe in the world for us, to start our B2B business, which was with our partnership with JP Chase. We built out a solution that went to market in 2020, Chase First Banking powered by Greenlight. That has been a great success. They've publicly come out in the first year plus. They added over 1 million kids and teens to that platform, and we've extended that relationship with them now. That's in its 4th year, but in very much ways they kind of had their own Chase approach to it. And what I think we learned very quickly was that you can probably count on one hand how many other partners would make the investment and want to do things the way Chase did. So a lot of what our focus was we knew the approach we had to take was different than B2C, but we also needed to figure out what was highly scalable. What's great about our B2C business is that those products, those subscription tiers, scale very well and can really be almost a one-size-fits-all for families. Among the kind of 3 subscription tiers we have. In B2B, it's very hard given the, in particular in financial services, given the breadth of various community banks, credit unions, regionals, private wealth management, mega banks like Chase. We knew it wouldn't be one size fits all. So, we really honed in and focused on what are solutions that can really run the gamut. We affectionately built out an approach which US Bank has kind of finalized, of a crawl, walk, run approach. We have a very light lift solution. It's called Greenlight for banks and Greenlight for credit unions that we launched about 15 months ago. We have close to 70 financial institutions on that platform. It can be stood up very easily, and banks and credit unions don't need through this co-branded app experience that we do. They don't need to devote any R&D resources or engineering resources to, which is great. But we realize that many banks and credit unions do want to own more of the user experience, even if they don't want to, do a heavy, IT project on this. So this is where the US Bank partnership you mentioned and that you all were very helpful with. We kind of aligned that there was a lot of synergy between Greenlight and US Bank, and really aligned that a lot of where they focus on strategic alliances and on financial education really blended well with what we did. And we kind of aligned on, hey, let's develop a solution, starting that they wanted Chase, but probably weren't going to, line up an army of engineers to launch that and, want to build something a year out. Let's build a hybrid. Let's build this walk approach. And that's where what we announced a couple of weeks ago, and it's been a great launch so far for millions of US Bank customers, is this partner mobile SDK, which was very easy to implement. It allows them to capture a lot of that experience, in the US Bank award-winning app, but it wasn't a particularly heavy lift. And so being flexible, I guess being comfortable with, launching partner-specific offerings is one that you have to get comfortable with, because there's not a lot of value coming the other way necessarily from our B2B business to the B2C business, but be comfortable having dedicated solutions and being comfortable enough to really have flexible solutions that can meet that commercial buyer's needs, because there is just a lot of differentiation on what they need.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And it sounds like that flexibility, understanding what a significant bank partner like US Bank is looking for and be able to work closely with them to make that a success. It's hard. Partnerships, relationships like this are tricky. You've seen it in your career. Cutting through that is sometimes challenging. You want to make it as easy as possible, as flexible as possible. But, and I'm sure you did a lot of work up front in terms of, hey, what the economics look like, and, initiatives when, as you go to market, as you launch, ownership and accountability. I mean, what kind of advice or guidance can you give others around, making this a successful launch, not US Bank specifically, but, just in terms of what you have gathered in your career to make it successful, to operationalize it and to execute going forward?
First off, make sure you're structuring the partnership so that there's a ton of value for the partner. You're going after, people in your portfolio are going to go after large prospective prizes here. You really need to put your hat on and think about what is in it for the partner, and making sure that however you structure the deal, it's a win for them. It can't be a grand slam for Greenlight, and to borrow a baseball analogy, a bunt single for US Bank. It has to be, hopefully of equal value in winning here as part of this is hugely important. And I say this because you still might be able to get a deal signed, but when it comes to kind of ongoing success of that partnership, everyone really needs to win and see the value in that. The second piece I would just say is, when you're working with a much larger partner like this, making sure that the foundation of the house that partnership is going to be built on is as sound as possible. So what that comes to is you have to invest in partner success. We have a phenomenal team of partner success folks that are experienced and know how to work with an enterprise partner like US Bank, so that you can really delight the partner and make them motivated to want to market and bring to market these services that they're bringing in this kind of B2B2C model. And it also applies to like vendor onboarding. Like, to work with one of these partners, it is a massive haul. And I think we learned our lesson with early partners, like Morgan Stanley, like JP Morgan Chase, that, you really need to invest in being very, tight and in compliance from a legal risk and compliance perspective. And so we use that as an advantage, right? Like, we had to invest in this muscle, but now that we have that muscle, if there's other players in our space that don't have experience working with a partner like this, the chances of them getting through vendor onboarding and having that team feel confident in there can be really tricky.
Where have you had to invest additional resources and energy? I mean, you got, the sales and execution team and, revenue operations and product, and there's a wide assortment of people that are responsible or who touch these relationships. I'm just curious, where have you seen more of the time, energy, dollars focused to make something like this a success?
Yeah. In the case of our Greenlight for Banks business, which is, really we think is applicable to 5,000 plus financial institutions, can be potential buyers of this solution. It's been severalfold. One, we have stood up a SaaS carrying sales team, and with that, it's investing in sales enablement, sales training, starting to invest in tools that can really kind of take a small but growing team and make it as efficient as possible. So that's been an area we've really been focused on. I like to think of this as levers we can pull, how we invest in creating awareness and demand gen for these new products that just, these are basically creating a new category. We never rip and replace someone out for a family banking solution. We're net new, right? So demand gen, sales enablement, our sales process is something that we've focused a lot on. And then we definitely focus on product market fit. We've been lucky in that our direct to consumer product lends itself very well to working with banks, but there are certain areas that you have to invest in to make it bank grade versus just good enough for a mom or a dad buying it. And so we've had to put dollars towards nothing massive, but putting dollars towards kind of refining our product to make it, like I said, bank grade has been another area. And then, as I mentioned, partner success, customer success is an area that we've certainly always trying to optimize, but we want to be the favorite piece of software that or partner that these banks work with or buy from, and so investing in there can really pay dividends.
Right, and I know you have a lot going on, a big company, many opportunities, but like any company or individual or team, you make mistakes, right? And hey, we're in the education business here at Greenlight.
Sure, of
You
course.
know, how do you learn from your mistakes? Like, are there any key learnings from challenges that you guys have experienced? And hey, that was incorrect. Let's do something else, and boom, it's a lot better. I mean, any key takeaways from the critical learnings?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I joined and kind of created the partner function here, inherited a team of 3. We're now at 25. We set out a kind of really a test and learn agenda. We were lucky in that there was tons of opportunities that were bright and shiny that we could go after. But we kind of did a whole prioritization effort and really picked 3 or 4 areas we wanted to pursue. In doing that, I think, we wanted to make sure, and I think it's really important that you make sure that the strategy behind why you're doing it and how you're going to test it are sound. It can be a great idea, but if you don't have a great way to try to roll out and execute, the opportunity tactically, I think you set yourself up to fail. And then it comes to kind of, I think our CEO likes to talk about, strong beliefs loosely held. In my mind, it's all about being able to feel comfortable going after aggressively, strong opportunities, but not being scared to fail, but fail fast, right? So
Mhm.
we'll structure tests, we'll go after it. We're not going to put a ton of resources, whether it's R&D or go to market resources behind opportunities that we can't test easily. And frankly, this is why it's great to have a D2C business and a B2B business. We communicate to banks, which is a unique value proposition for Greenlight, is that we have these incredible capabilities in our D2C business to text out new features and new capabilities before we would ever roll them out to a bank or a credit union. We get to see how our D2C business engages with that feature or that capability.
Yeah.
If it's relevant to a bank partner, as an example, and we're seeing the end user find a lot of value in it, we can already kind of skip ahead from testing with the bank partner and say, hey, this is something we're going to roll out. Is really kind of how we've done it. I
Yep.
have a joke. It's just kind of like placing bets. You play small bets first, and stuff that seems to be gaining traction, you can kind of put more chips into the pile on that opportunity. I'd love all opportunities to be ones that we want to place big bets on.
Right.
Realistically, it's never going to be that if you're being aggressive enough in testing the bands of what you can kind of go with on a B2B distribution model. Not everything's going to succeed, but being able to identify what isn't successful and being able to not feel comfortable moving off things is important.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I have a follow-up on that. And it's a couple more questions and I'll let you go. I appreciate your
Sure.
time. Just on the product side, you touched upon this: products, product management, product marketing versus, on the sales, biz dev, partnership side, where you're out there in the field, you're talking to partners like, hey, they wish, or they have a wish list of what they want in the product or whatever, versus what you actually have. And how do you manage that friction? And friction is probably the wrong word, but how do you manage that communication in terms of what is going on out in the field, what's communicated out in the field, and really what you're building at home?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have, I think, a sales team of now 11 folks that are out talking to hundreds of our target prospects across a couple of different products that we offer. And that feedback from the field is so important, right? Like us, we know what we've gone to market with, but understanding what where we need to make tweaks or where we need to make additions is hugely important. So, we rely both on our sellers to come back with feedback. We also use AI tools to kind of capture and summarize key takeaways from each call that they have, and that's something that our sales enablement team, we have stood up a partner solutions team that really work closely with that feedback, can kind of gather it, synthesize it, and then work really closely across the aisle with product, with marketing, to share that feedback. And it then becomes kind of a prioritization game, like I'm sure anything else that we do at the company, where is this pain point big enough? Do we think solving it unlocks enough value for us to put something like this at the front of the line for work that'll get done by our R&D teams?
Yep, no, totally fair. Lastly, and I'm sure you get this question a lot, how do you define success? Yes, there's the quantitative metrics, obviously revenue and growth and profit and all that fun stuff. But as you and the team think about defining success for Greenlight, and there's, I'm sure what you're doing from a family and education perspective, yes, there's a qualitative side of it as well,
Sure.
where it's mission driven, so to speak, in some cases. But how do you holistically look at defining success and what you guys are doing here and building a terrific company?
It really ties back to what we're doing on the B2B distribution side, tying very closely to what our mission is, which is really trying to help as many families raise, financially smart kids. So, we're of the thinking distribution wins. For a product like ours, there may be no better way to distribute the product than through partnering with banks and credit unions, where families, go to for their financial needs. We did a survey last year. It said 93% of parents think that their financial institution should be responsible for helping them educate, from a financial perspective, their kids. So we think no better partner there. So when we think of success, we think of, hey, this is a great way to get the Greenlight product into more families' hands. And so we look at, like, what is the coverage that partnering with Chase and US Bank and Morgan Stanley and PSECU on the credit union side, and the list goes on and on. How many families now have access to Greenlight that maybe wouldn't have previously? We are in our D2C business, we are a subscription product. Families pay us either $5, $10, or $15 a month. There's a lot of families that could benefit from financial education that may not want to pay. What's great about, our Greenlight for Banks, Greenlight for Credit Unions product is that, the US Bank example, millions of US Bank customers can now get Greenlight for free. So that segment of the market that maybe we want to reach, but we just, for whatever reason, weren't reaching with our direct to consumer advertising or our pricing model there, we can now reach. And so it's really about penetration into more families is how we think about it.
Well, excellent. Matt, thank you. I really appreciate it. That's very helpful. We wish you and the team lots of great success. Excited about the future here. And thank you for your insight and guidance around some of the challenges, but the opportunities that you've created here at Greenlight and making a successful B2B business.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ren, for having me, and thank you for everyone at Finn that's done so much to support Greenlight.
Yeah, we're proud to be involved and looking forward to the future.
Excellent. Thanks so much.